The real truth is the lady asked the question, who started this? Well, let me see who started it. You raised a question at a meeting and you signed a petition. Adele Taylor made one phone call. How many letters are on file in the zoning office complaining about the political signs? How many?
One.
How many? Do you guys all know? And you're all excited about this.
You're going to ask all of those questions through the chair, I know.
It's bouncing back to you.
Thank you very much.
Okay. All right. One letter, maybe. And I don't even think you got one letter.
But the one letter kicked in the process of reviewing the possible violation, assessing it against the regulation, and then issuing a letter. That process was carried out and is complete.
And you should have said there was only one complaint, okay, and it hasn't been a problem over the years.
The adjudication isn't on the complaint. The adjudication is whether the sign violated the regulation or not. It can be only one complaint. That's enough. Thank you, Duncan.
Does anybody miss this picture? This is what we've done. This is how we've treated our town. And it wasn't like this when many of us moved in. Right, Dick? Huh? It's gotten worse and worse and worse. And the Democrats have put up 4x8 signs, the Republicans haven't. And some of the losers are a little more losers.
Thank you.
Today.
Larry McDonald,
Larry,
320 Minortown Road, Woodbury, obviously. I am also urging the appeal of the political sign. All you have to do if you want to look at the largest sign in town is just drive by the Curtis House. That is the largest sign in town.
it's actually the Drakey sign as well.
Well, the Drakely sign, okay, but in one term, one full sign, I think, use it the Drakely sign.
Yeah.
If I may address an issue raised by the prior person here, Duncan, regarding a sign, I urge him to go to the Zoning Board of Appeals minutes, and that he will find that actually what the Zoning Board of Appeals did was reduce the signage and not increase the signage. If Duncan would remember that there were 2 signs on that building, and both of them were non-conforming. In fact, what he has now on his property is less non-conforming than what he had before. So what we've been trying to do is get it more conforming to the rules and regulations. So that actual sign is smaller. It's the same size. It's less square footage because of the removal of the other sign.
Thank you for clarifying that.
Can we note for the record, Mr. McDonald's a member of the ZBA?
If you want,
That's fine.
he is
You can just note that.
underpaid volunteer, as far as I know.
That is accurate.
I think Tom and then Duncan again. Unless there's anyone else who hasn't spoken who would like to interject. Lisa first, and then Tom, and then Duncan.
Lisa Peters, 165 Goodhill Road. A couple of things. One, if the political signs were going to be put up and taken down after the election for a short amount of time, probably no one would really complain. But signs that are up for 6 months, that's a little bit too much. Okay?
Thank you.
Secondly, I have a question about the zoning enforcement. If it's determined that there is a violation, is it possible that the zoning commission would have to go and take away the item that's in violation? Just a question.
Well, then we note your question for the record. Thank you. I think Tom, and I think Duncan, and then Art.
I think you're up now.
And then Tom first.
Okay. I'm going to start with something that I've got written out. It's, you've heard this before. No law shall ever be passed to curtail or restrain the liberty of speech or of the press. And that's as stated as it is in the Connecticut Constitution. It pretty much says it all. Whoever supports the proposed changes and/or any restrictions on political signs is attempting to take away my constitutional rights, which is a violation of law. Commissioners are all sworn to uphold the law, and you must, or you should resign from your positions. I feel that Chairman Overton's do as I say, not as I do attitude to the issue is nothing short of ridiculous. During his failed election bid, the signage at his headquarters exceeded the aggregate signage that was on my property, yet nothing was done about that. I feel Martin is hypocritical in his discriminatory enforcement, and I hope the rest of you have the good judgment to be fair and right in this matter. What Martin initially stated would be approximately a 3-month process is now in its 3rd calendar year. I ask that you end it tonight by agreeing that political signs, as an expression of speech, cannot be limited by zoning. This issue initiated with a complaint signed by Sharon Battelle Sherman, Reed Bertolet, George Hale, Dolores Daly, Richard Snyder, George Madston, Robert Clark, Mary Harrison, Andy Sherman, Lisa Peters, and I will say this was from the sign with Martha Dean. And what she just said was a bold-faced lie, stating that nobody would complain if it was just up for a limited amount of time. Then we go on to Martha Sherman, Barbara Packer, and Kathleen Sobolewski. And when I first read that complaint to the Commission in October 2010, Martin's comment was, why don't you just say the entire Democratic Town Committee? This has been a partisan issue from the beginning in that only 2 Republican signs were acted against. Martin might argue now that he's apparently become a registered Democrat, but subsequent to that first complaint, I was sent another notice of possible violation for a sign last year, again at a time when there were numerous other displays exceeding what I'll term your illegal aggregate limit of 12 square feet. I think the largest display was on Martin Overton's campaign headquarters, yet he was spared the enforcement process. Fair? I don't think so. I'm only asking that you do the right thing and protect everybody's guaranteed constitutional rights against people like your chairman who would apparently strip us of them. I'm going to remind you again that I sent hand-delivered to the town offices on October 27, 2011, an FOI request to Mary Barton about the political signs, and that we discussed the notice of possible violation that she sent me regarding a political sign on my lawn. I've noticed many other displays around town that obviously exceed the aggregate 12 square feet you reference in your letter, and wish to know if the property owners have been treated the same way as I have been. Well, it's not legal to regulate such political signs as the town has tried. I want to be assured that I'm not subject to discriminatory enforcement attempts, as your predecessor tried. This is not to be misconstrued as a complaint against other signs, but instead against the regulation and/or any further discriminatory enforcement. So I ask for a list of addresses where you have sent, prior to today's date, similar notice of possible violation letters. I'm not interested in any done after receipt of this request at this time, as I'm solely interested in the demonstration of fair treatment and enforcement attempts by your office. Some of the addresses I passed by on it. This is relating to political signs, your history, and your enforcement. You're not doing your job, Martin. You're as discriminatory as can be. I have the floor, Martin, and I'm not through yet. How are you going to restrict me? Because you don't like what I'm saying?
Tom,
you broke the same rule that you're trying to enforce against me, and you're dead wrong, Martin.
Mr. Harris, you've said it over and over again. I want to move on to those who haven't spoken yet, and then other people in the room who have other business in front of this commission tonight. You have made your point. We have heard it.
You haven't received the message, though.
Yes, I believe we have. Can we now move on? The gentleman at the back who's had his hand up for a while. Thank you.